Football is obsessed with youth. Breakout stars, early debuts, teenage records, that's what headlines are built on. But not every great career begins at 19. Some stories take time. Some players need years to mature, to find the right system, or to simply be noticed. This is a video about those players, the ones who didn't peak early but found greatness after the age when most are expected to decline. Luka Modric's career is the clearest example of a player whose defining years arrived late. He was already respected at Tottenham and known for his technique and intelligence, but it wasn't until after turning 30 that he truly became a global icon. In 2018, at 33, he carried Croatia to a World Cup final, won the Ballon d'Or, and symbolized an era of Real Madrid dominance. His success didn't come from raw pace or power, but from understanding space, tempo, and when to do less, not more. Didier Drogba's story follows a similar arc. He joined Chelsea at 26, but it wasn't until he was 34 that he delivered the club's greatest night. In the 2012 Champions League final, he scored the equalizer and converted the decisive penalty. He had spent years being doubted, misread as only a physical presence. But in the defining match of his career, it was his composure, leadership, and clarity under pressure that elevated him above the rest. His prime was not built on form, it was built on impact. And then there's Dario Hubner, a name less known outside Italy, but a symbol of what late bloomers can do. He made his Serie A debut at 30 and won the Capocannoniere, the league's top scorer, at 35. He played with a cigarette in one hand and defied every modern sports science assumption. But what he understood was angles, timing, and how to move one step before the defender. His was a football brain that didn't need youth to be effective. It needed time. Zlatan Ibrahimović didn't slow down with age, he just became more efficient. At Paris Saint-Germain from age 31 to 34, he scored over 150 goals and became the club's all-time top scorer at the time. When most forwards lose their explosiveness, Zlatan refined his game around positioning, technique, and mentality. Later, at Manchester United and then AC Milan, he proved he could still dominate elite defenses, not by outrunning them, but by thinking ahead. His career is less about longevity and more about reinvention. Miroslav Klose was never the fastest or the flashiest striker, but he aged into history. His club career was steady, but his defining years came on the international stage well after turning 30. At 36, he became the all-time leading scorer in World Cup history, overtaking Ronaldo in Brazil in 2014. He was a master of timing, always in the right place. His late prime was quiet, effective, and lethal. He peaked not with flair, but with finality, and left as one of the most respected forwards of his generation. Olivier Giroud is another example of a striker who improved with time. Often underestimated, he spent his early career as a squad player, but post-30 he became central for both club and country. He was France's starting forward in their 2018 World Cup win, and later became their all-time leading scorer. At AC Milan, well into his mid-30s, he led the line in a title-winning season. Giroud never relied on speed. He relied on movement, timing, and an instinctive understanding of space. That's why his best years came when others were retiring. Luca Toni fits the same mold. His story is even more unconventional. He won the World Cup at 29, but it was after 30 that he truly excelled. From 31 to 36, he consistently scored 20-plus goals per season in Serie A. In 2015, at 38, he finished as the league's top scorer. Tony's game wasn't built on youth, it was built on simplicity, on staying calm in the box, and finishing with authority. His presence showed that age is not a barrier for forwards who understand their craft. Thiago Silva was already an elite center-back in his 20s, but it was after 30 that his reputation truly settled into greatness. At Paris Saint-Germain and later at Chelsea, he became the embodiment of calm under pressure. In his mid-30s, he captained PSG to a Champions League final and joined Chelsea to win the competition the following year. Silva's game is built on anticipation, timing, and positioning, skills that sharpen with experience. His performances in the Premier League at 36 and 37 showed that defending isn't only about strength, it's about intelligence. Giorgio Chiellini found his greatest respect not in his early years, but at the tail end of his career. Always a reliable defender, it was at Euro 2020, age 36, that he fully embodied leadership and resilience on the international stage. His understanding with Bonucci, his command of the back line, and his calm under pressure helped Italy lift the trophy, a decade after many had written him off as past his best. He didn't need speed, he needed the game in front of him, and the trust of those around him. Jose Fonte might not be a global superstar, but his career defines the late prime narrative. At 32, he helped Portugal win their first major international trophy at Euro 2016. After years in England's lower divisions, he finally got recognition on the international stage in his 30s. Fonte didn't change who he was. Football finally caught up to his reliability and positioning. In a game that often chases youth, he was proof that experience and consistency still matter at the highest level. Andre Pirlo was always technically gifted, but it wasn't until his 30s that he reached his most commanding form. After leaving AC Milan at 32, many thought his best days were behind him. Instead, at Juventus, he became the deep-lying conductor of a team that won 4 consecutive Serie A titles and reached a Champions League final. Pirlo's late prime wasn't built on reinvention, it was the game slowing down to match his rhythm. He didn't run much, but the ball moved faster when he had it. At 36, he was still dictating matches in Europe with the same calm and control. James Milner's career followed a different path. Never a flashy player, he built his reputation on versatility and work ethic. Yet it was in his 30s, especially at Liverpool, that he became essential in one of the best sides of the era. From fullback to central midfield, Milner adapted, pressed, and led by example. His performances in the Premier League and Champions League showed that value isn't only in youth or flair. It can come from consistency, intelligence, and the ability to do what the team needs. Zé Roberto took longevity to a new level. He played until the age of 43 and maintained a top physical condition that baffled younger teammates. But beyond fitness, his understanding of the game allowed him to remain relevant. After 30, he transformed from a winger to a holding midfielder, controlling games with maturity and awareness. At Bayern Munich and later in Brazil, he was still a starter, not because of sentiment, but because he offered balance and reliability. His late prime wasn't just a physical feat, it was a tactical one. In many ways, their success is a reaction to how football has changed. As the game became more structured, more system-based, players who could read situations, slow the tempo, and make better decisions became more valuable. And maybe that's why we remember them longer. Not because they burned bright early, but because they stayed when others faded. They adapted, endured, and often saved their best for when no one expected it. In a sport that often moves too quickly, their careers are a reminder. Timing is everything, and greatness sometimes arrives late.